If you've spoken with a real estate investor in the last little while, you've definitely heard the word Airbnb. Airbnb have attracted many people for their cash flow and strong investment returns, but it's important to have a team behind you to make the right investment decisions. Kelly Fry and the Kelly Fry team specializes in short-term rentals in the Fraser Valley. Kelly is a licensed realtor and an avid investor with over 150 doors and has a real passion for helping her clients find success in real estate. So, Kelly, your team focuses a lot on Airbnb properties. How long have you been in the short-term rental, and why the shift from your typical rental buildings?
Well, it's been about 4 years now, Austin, since I shifted into Airbnb. And as an investment realtor, I'm constantly seeking ways to help investors make money. And as I was watching the market get away from us price-wise, and with the limited cap that we have on rentals, I knew that I had to innovate quickly to be able to get results for myself as an investor, but also to keep bringing opportunities to the table to other investors. And so the best way for me to be able to teach them was to jump in the game myself.
And I love that you come at it from a firsthand educational standpoint. I'm teaching others what I've done. Walk us through kind of at a high level. People are attracted to the additional cash flow that Airbnb can achieve. Walk us through some of the sort of operating expenses and what people can expect from both an income perspective and then also sort of an expense operation perspective.
Okay, so basically I've quantified this for past presentations, and I've concluded that the premium you're going to get on Airbnb revenue ranges from about 45 to 110% on what regular rent would be. Now, the actual additional cost that you have is not that high. You're looking at and it's different for attached versus detached. So I'll start on attached. So for condos and townhouses, you're generally looking at just the internet cable cost, the hydro and gas, and then some supply costs. Those are generally the additional costs you're going to face. If it's a detached property, there's lawn maintenance, so snow removal and lawn care as well. But they're not substantial costs when you weigh it against the incremental income that you're getting. And with people sometimes don't realize this, but the cleaning costs, the way I structure them, they're always covered by the guest. So that is not a cost that you absorb as a landlord.
And maybe just, a normal long-term rental, 2-bed, 2-bath in the Fraser Valley versus an Airbnb of similar. What type of premium are you looking at, and what kind of cash flow?
I can give you a basic example of one that I have in Langley. It's a newer condo, 2.5 years old. The rent on that condo, 2-bed, 2-bath, would be $2,100 right now because I have one in the sister building, and that's what we just re-rented it at. And the Airbnb unit is getting about $3,800 a month.
Wow.
Same exact unit.
That's an amazing spread. And from a property management perspective, I know you're a very hands-on real estate investor yourself, and being in that area, it can be easier to manage. If you have a client that calls you from Alberta and says, "Hey, Kelly, I'm looking in Mission for an Airbnb," and they want to use more of a passive property management route, what are that sort of expectation number that you would pay a property manager for an Airbnb versus that long-term rental model?
Well, typically it runs at about 20% or higher for the Airbnb management. But my property manager who's on my team, who works with all my clients, especially my out-of-province clients, she's doing it for 15% for my clients. So they have the opportunity to have her do the management, which is a fair deal for the amount of work that's involved in it.
Yeah, and like you said, you have your property management team, your team, and really help your investors find these properties. When you're looking at potential rentals and comparing similar properties, what type of due diligence is your team doing?
Well, basically, when it's detached, it's not that difficult, or if it's a duplex or a fourplex, those are quite easy because you're not dealing with strata bylaws. But when you're looking at attached properties like condos or townhouses, that's where you basically have to pick from the buildings that don't restrict short-term rentals. Right. So that's what we do. We have admin on our team who seeks out all the bylaws in all the locations in the different cities. And then we present those buildings to our clients. We look to see what's active in that building at the time. Then we run the numbers, and we kind of have to work it like that.
When people think of an Airbnb investment property, maybe they think of buying something in Whistler or maybe something in Scottsdale. Langley or Mission doesn't generally come top of mind. Talk about the kind of differentiation factor in going into these markets where you're competing against the local hotels, and talk about, is the demand year round? Is it seasonal? What do you see being kind of that unique offering in the marketplace there?
For sure. Well, one of the things that I like about these areas is that they aren't cyclical with regards to tourism like Vancouver is, which we experienced in COVID. In the suburbs, we didn't really get that badly hit on the Airbnb side. And I'll give you an example. I have a townhouse in Aldergrove, and I've just been booked for 60 days straight for an insurance claim on a flood. So you have all of these situations where people are getting, flood coverage. They need a place right away. You've got work assignments in Mission. I've got one particular client that stays every week for 4 days. He works for TELUS Fiber Optics, I believe. And so he's a recurring client. And so you have all of these just general, ordinary events, even family related, hockey tournaments, concerts. So it's not just based on tourism. People need to be in areas where their families live. So if their family lives in Abbotsford, then they will stay in Abbotsford.
And on that point about the flood claim, past guest of the show, Derek Peaver, referred to you as one of his mentors. So I'm sure that's where he got that trick out of his book from you there.
For sure. Derek's a long-standing friend.
And right now, we're seeing a lot of uncertainty or maybe just a bit of confusion in the market. What does the Fraser Valley real estate market look like with the current interest rates?
Well, I mean, I would say it's a great time for investors right now because you have the opportunity to negotiate, which you haven't been able to do for quite some time. So despite the fact that the listing inventory has gone up substantially, I would say as a realtor, it's still not high enough. The properties that are priced well, they are going to sell very quickly, even in multiples, even right now. The media doesn't tell you that. But the properties that are overpriced, where the sellers are still carrying the hope of pricing from February or March, are just going to sit on the market until they either accept a low ball or adjust their price. And sorry, back to Taylor's question with regards to occupancy. Generally, the occupancy is pretty solid year round. It usually runs at 26, even as high as 27 days, although November is the weakest month. And currently, I have the largest number of units running. I have 20 running right now. So I will have a better idea when November's over as to where it's sitting year round for the occupancy.
And inventory always seems to be, a common word when talking about the market. With these increase in interest rates, you'd believe that there's people that are holding on to some variable rate mortgages that are maybe in a position where they're being forced to sell. Are we seeing this huge uptick in listings? Like, are we seeing people saying, hey, I can't afford to service this debt anymore, I have to sell, and there's, hundreds of new properties? Or is it just really not trickling into the market yet?
Oh, no, it's already happening. And for myself, I didn't anticipate that there'd be so many investors calling me to dump properties. So I have investors calling me left, right, and center, trying to sell off properties where they're so far in the red now that they have to let go of the properties. They were on variable rate mortgages. And then that's definitely the case with people who are living in their properties as well. They're trying to figure out, should I sell and rent? Should I downsize? And, as I'm sure you guys know, the rental market is almost 0% vacancy and the rents are so high right now. So it really isn't a good solution for people to sell and rent either.
Yeah, and it seemed like that was the same story with a lot of these pre-sale projects coming to market. And, when prices were going up, a lot of people were, quickly to jump and purchase one of those. Are you expecting to see a lot of assignments coming up, as well as some of these incentives from the developers?
Yeah, I think there will be as we move, through another interest rate hike in December, which we're expecting. I think in future projects, we will see that. So far with the projects we're closing this month and next month, I haven't heard much of that, but I think people got in early on those projects at low prices, so they are closing. But as the margins get tighter, we will see more of that, more distress. We had one project where the developer did $1 down deposits, So that was one of my favorite incentives that I've seen. And we actually purchased one as well. As long as you had equity in another property in British Columbia, they would just take a collateral mortgage on your other property and let you tie up your pre-sale for $1. So that was pretty cool. I can't wait to see what other incentives they come up with.
That is very unique. A very unique incentive. I saw in Toronto they were offering Rolexes for the first X amount of buyers as their incentive.
Wow.
Before the call here, we were touching on a couple unique opportunities that you're working on. That pre-sale there in Langley, as well as this sort of unique Airbnb cottage setup there in the Harrison Hot Spring area. Just give the kind of the listeners here a quick overview of each of those.
For sure. Well, we're working on 2 pre-sales that are coming up, one in Surrey and one in Langley. The one in Langley, it's going to be on Fraser Highway near 200, expecting the price list any day on that one. And we do get priority access before anyone else. And if we can get enough investors into the project and get them on Strata Council, then we can stop any restrictions on short-term rentals, which is what we aim to do with these projects. And recently, we got a listing this week, actually, for a phenomenal project in Harrison. It's almost an acre, 1 block from the beach, and it's 7 cottages that are run as Airbnbs. And they're a combination of bachelor, 1-bedroom, and multi-bedroom units. The owners had it for 5 years, fully renoed every unit, and increased the revenue 5 times. So we'll be listing that this week, doing the videography this weekend, but it's a great opportunity for an investor who's interested in taking on Airbnb at a bigger level.
Lots of opportunities out there, and it's always good to hear that. If you were an investor, or for someone out there looking to make an investment right now, where would you be investing? Is there a particular type of property or location that you'd be looking at?
Well, I like the 3 suited houses for Airbnb because you get the maximum income even at high current interest rates. I shouldn't say high because they're not that high. It's just gone up quickly. To make the numbers work right now, I'm finding on detached, you need the 3 suited homes. So definitely that. Or as I said, with the condos or townhouses, they have to be in buildings that permit you to do short term, or they don't restrict it. So I can't even say area specific. It's wherever you can find those deals. Because the demand for Airbnb exists everywhere.
Any words of wisdom for someone getting into Airbnb? Numbers, pro formas, management, all that stuff sort of aside. What sort of, looking back, you've been doing this for a number of years. What sort of words of wisdom today would you give yourself if you were to start back then?
Well, I mean, it's if you're managing it yourself, it's definitely very hands-on in terms of, you've got to be quite involved, and there will be problems. Don't expect it to be hassle-free. You're compensated in proportion to the risk and hassle that you're willing to take on. And so I think the biggest factor with Airbnb is that there are so many people coming on stream every single day that haven't tested it. Like if you take anybody, I would say under, I don't know, early 30s, I don't even think they generally stay at hotels. I think it's just natural that they're going to stay at an Airbnb. But once you look at people over 35, up into seniors, they're just starting to get into the Airbnb game. So for you as a host or a landlord, you have to decipher on those people that start with 0 reviews as to whether they're worthy of taking the risk. And, you just have to be careful when you're vetting people. The people that have positive reviews, they should be set up as an auto booking because you know that they're going to take care of your property. But for those who have no reviews, that's where there is an element of risk that you have to be careful. Cleaners will make or break your business. So you really need good cleaners. And I use different cleaners in all different areas that are, near to the properties, and pay them well and pay them quickly. And they will take care of you, and they will restock your units, and they will give you the reviews and everything you need to run a good business.
It's great insight. Yeah, I think a lot of people look at it and love the opportunity, like how it sounds, but aren't quite aware of all of those little details that fall in line with the Airbnbs.
And you need a good handyman on call too, because things break all the time. So pay them well and quickly as well.
And for those of you who don't know, Cameron Manning is also a member of the Kelly Fry team, and this one's directed towards him a little bit. It might be the most difficult question of the day, but how many hours per day do you believe Cameron Manning spends dancing in the office?
I can't say that he dances too much when I'm watching. So he must be doing it after hours or behind closed doors in his actual office.
He's got great videos. If anyone's watching that doesn't already follow him, Cameron Manning there on Instagram, some very great content. And that question was written by me. We ran into him at Cactus Club last week after our beer league hockey game, and I had a little bit of a girly drink at the bar there. So he gave me some grief for it. So that was my return there.
Yes, fair enough. And he did tell me about your drink, so I know all about that.
There we go. Now he's spreading it around as well. Awesome. Well, again, Kelly, always appreciate your insights and your expertise. You're a true professional, both on the residential side and on the Airbnb space. We always appreciate your insights and your experiences, and as well as your stories. For anyone that is looking to connect with Kelly, Instagram, Facebook, Kelly Fry and Kelly Fry team. So please connect with her if you're interested in learning more about the Fraser Valley, as well as investing in Airbnb. And again, Kelly, thank you for your time here this afternoon.
Thanks, you guys. Great to talk to you as always.
Thanks, Kelly.